Over 4 years ago, I made a video about beating the original Spyro the Dragon without gliding, and that video is horribly out of date. In every following Spyro glideless video I've made since then, my goal was to get the highest completion percentage possible. In my original video, I couldn't even get to the end of the game without at least one glide, let alone aim for max completion. The main reason I didn't aim for max percent in the original video is that I decided to ban glitches as part of my rules. This wasn't a moral decision or anything, I just thought that learning the glitches would be too difficult for me at the time. Oh, how things change. So I wanted to make an updated version of this video in the style of my more recent Spyro videos. So here are the rules. But first, I need to tell you all that despite my best efforts, I do not have a sponsor for this video. Wow, I didn't realize the world hated Spyro so much. Feeling guilty yet? Well, I don't need you anyway, I can sponsor myself. I can do it. I have a Patreon. It's only $1.50 a month, and you get to see these videos early too. In fact, this very video you're watching right now has been uploaded to my Patreon for a week now. If you don't like Patreon, you can get videos early by becoming a YouTube member for as little as $1 a month instead. Who needs sponsors? Me, it's me. I need sponsors. I'm doing this full time now. Sorry I yelled at you, come back. Seriously though, thank you to everyone watching this video. Just your viewership helps me out a lot, and I can't thank you enough. I've rambled on long enough, let's get back to Spyro. Back to the rules. Rule number 1, we cannot glide or fly at all. Rule number 2, glitches are fine, just no hacking. And rule number 3, once we defeat Gnasty Gnorc, we win! First things first, entering portals forces Spyro to fly during the load screens, so those don't count since we have no control over that. Oh, and as I said, we're aiming for max completion. I want to see how far we can push this challenge. The Artisans Home world has 4 dragons we can rescue, and they're all easily reachable. There are some gems on this higher platform, but we can still make it up there if we charge at the apex of a jump, also known as a jump charge. The only gems it seems we cannot reach in Artisans Home world are the ones on these towers. We need to use a whirlwind to get on these towers, but I want to ban whirlwinds in this run. I feel like it makes the challenge more interesting overall. In the original Spyro video, we eventually resorted to allowing whirlwinds, but this time there will be no exceptions. This means we have 91 out of 100 gems, but we're not giving up on those gems just yet. We'll be back for them later. As always, we're banning the flight levels. There are 5 of them in the game in total. Each one has 300 gems to be earned. So if you think they should be allowed, then just add 1,500 gems to the endgame total. The first actual level we decided to play was Stone Hill. We can reach all the collectibles on the ground level no problem. There is an upper part of the level and it's intended that we use a whirlwind to get up there. However, it's actually very easy to get up there without it. All we need to do is stand on this wall near the vortex, and with a jump charge we can make it up just like that. Once we've cleared out all the gems on the upper level and caught the egg thief, we can then jump down to the beach below. We grab a key down here, but if we want to get back up again, we need to use a whirlwind. But if we just death abuse, we respawn back at the last dragon we rescued with the key still in our inventory. Now we can jump down the well, rescue the dragon down here, and use the key to open the locked chest. The only way back out of this well is with another whirlwind, but we can just exit the level from the pause menu. This returns us back to the homeworld with all our progress still intact. We will be going back into Stone Hill though, we're not done there yet. The only collectibles remaining in Stone Hill are on top of the tower that we need to use a whirlwind to get on top of. It seems like we have no way of getting up there. In the reignited version, we were able to use a ram enemy to get a proxy up high, but it doesn't work quite the same in the original. This is because we will take damage from the ram regardless of how or when it touches us. We would need a way of getting charged by the ram without taking damage. So, check this out. There is a glitch in this game called the zombie glitch. To activate it, we need an unrescued dragon, and since we've already rescued all the dragons we can reach here, we had to start the run over. All we need to do is take fatal damage and rescue a dragon at the same time. The dragon near the vortex is perfect for this as there is a ram close by. We get hit a few times to remove sparks, and we make sure the final hit pushes us into the dragon statue. Spyro's automatic walking animation will interrupt the death animation, and now the game thinks we're dead, but we can still move around. The advantage of the zombie glitch is that we can no longer take damage. This means that if we let the ram charge at us, all it does is push Spyro without causing any damage. So if we let the ram squash us against the wall, we can get a squeeze proxy, which ejects Spyro upwards. Unfortunately, we can't use this to get on top of the tower because during a proxy we have no movement control, and this tower's edge extends outwards, so all we do is hit the ceiling. However, if we aim the proxy just right, we can hit the ceiling directly underneath the dragon statue, and this is just close enough to trigger the dragon cutscene. We now have all 4 dragons in Stone Hill, but there are still a few gems on top of that tower that we can't reach. Or can we? Whenever we rescue a dragon, the pedestal the dragon was on becomes our latest checkpoint. Since we rescued the dragon on the tower last, all we need to do is death abuse to respawn up there. Oh, right, we still have the zombie glitch. So standing on water doesn't hurt us, and there are no bottomless pits to fall down in this level. However, if we fall onto the water with the zombie glitch, Spyro will get stuck in the falling animation while on the surface. If we wait like this long enough, Spyro will build up so much downward momentum that eventually he gets zipped right through the water and to his death. Sure enough, we respawn on the top of the tower with the zombie glitch removed. From here, we can grab the last few gems for 100% completion in Stone Hill. I told you things would be different this time around. Next up is Dark Hollow. Very little platforming in this level. Any gap can be cleared easily with a jump charge. I used these steps to prove that Sparks won't grab a gem unless Spyro is actually standing on the same surface as it. It's not just about proximity. Not in this game anyway. Not much else to say about this level, that is 100% completion in Dark Hollow. This is when we would normally play Town Square, but we haven't been able to reach its portal. But there is a way up there without using the whirlwind. There is a trick in this game called a skitter jump, also known as a boosted jump, and it results in slightly more height than a regular jump. Here's how it works. If we jump and charge down into certain parts of certain walls, and then jump again right afterwards, we get more height. That sounds easy, but it's not quite that simple. We need to be just close enough to charge against the wall as we fall, but not close enough to make Spyro bonk his head. It's actually quite precise. Also, the frame window to perform the boosted jump upon landing is very tight. There is an audio cue that lets us know that we're landing in the perfect spot. There needs to be exactly 2 skitter sounds when we land. No more, no less. We must press the jump button on the same frame that the second skitter sound plays for the boosted jump. You know what? I'll let Live Nathan explain it. He did it better than I could. So you gotta hold both buttons in midair, land in the perfect spot at the perfect angle, let go of square and X, and then re-hold X, like 2 frames after. And only then do you get the height on the jump. What's more, once we nail this perfect positioning and timing, we then need to aim our charge at the very apex of the jump. This allows us to just reach the lower tower from below. The next jump is even more difficult in my opinion. It's not quite a boosted jump, but charging down, jumping upon landing, and then charging at the apex just allows us to reach the bridge up top, but only if we land on the right side of the bridge. This gives us access to Town Square. This seems to be a gliding tutorial level, so there are plenty of gaps to cover. We use the old trick of rotating during a vertical jump to get a bit of extra height. This isn't quite as good as a boosted jump though, so this wouldn't have helped us reach Town Square's portal. We can also bypass the intended glide to reach the thief, with a precise jump charge from here. With that, there's nowhere we can't reach in Town Square, so that is 100% completion here. When we exit Town Square, we're back on the bridge in the Artisans Home world. If we jump down to the lower tower on the left, we can grab the final gem, and this means we can beat the homeworld 100%. The boss level, Toasty, is not a challenge in a glideless run. It has next to no platforming whatsoever. It is always satisfying to dodge these pouncing dogs with a side roll though. Anyway, that's 100% completion in Toasty. The requirement to access the second homeworld is 10 dragons rescued. Considering we've managed to rescue all 16 so far, I think we're good. Peacekeepers does have a little bit of platforming. It can mostly be navigated with jump charges, but there is a wide gap at the end. Before we tackle this, we make sure to grab the key here first. To get across this, we need to make sure we have full health first, as we will be using damage boosts. We jump charge as close as we can get, damage boost a bit closer, but we need to land with our backs to the ledge on the last damage boost. This way we can jump out of the purple goo, rotate mid-jump to get that bit of extra height, and then charge onto the ledge. There is a locked metal chest here, which is why we needed the key first. Since we're sparkless now, we can't get off this ledge without dying, so we'll just have to accept that we're going to lose a life here. That's 100% completion in Peacekeepers. Now we'll head into Dry Canyon. Surprisingly, we can collect quite a lot here. This gap can be cleared with a good jump charge. There are some bird enemies on these wooden posts. Once they're defeated, we can use a rotating jump to reach these gems. At the top of the building, we can reach the next ledge for even more gems. From here, we can see a distant platform we're supposed to glide to, and surely there's no chance of reaching that. We can use these rooftops to reach the opening in the cave for even more gems. Of course, we're meant to glide around a wall to reach both a dragon and a key, and we're not making it over there with a jump charge. That seems to be all we can do here, if not for another fun trick. It's another version of a proxy, and all we need is an enemy and a sloped wall. If we bonk into a sloped wall and then take damage during the bonk animation, Spyro will be proxied against the wall. If the wall is even slightly sloped, he'll be sent up the wall. That's why we've kept this bird alive. We let it chase us this way towards the vortex, and then bonk into this wall right as the bird hits us, and this sends us upwards. The height we get depends on the timing of the bonk and the hit we take. The angle depends on the direction we're facing. We're trying to get on top of this wall, and we tried many times. Sometimes we'd fall short, and other times we'd go right over the wall. When we finally nail it, we make our way along the wall and jump charge over to the ledge with the dragon and the key on it. Now, this truly looks like all we can do in Dry Canyon. Is what I would have said if not for this. It's actually possible to get an even higher proxy thanks to the bird. There is a 1-up chest right behind the bird that we used for that proxy. We charge around the back of the 1-up chest with the bird in pursuit. We let it hit us as we skid between the wall and the chest. Getting a proxy like this can send us all the way up and on top of the very high wall. I can't believe the top of this wall is even solid. All we need to do now is carefully travel along the wall until we reach the end, and from there we can jump charge all the way down to land on the distant platform with the locked chest on it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but that is 100% completion in Dry Canyon. That footage was lent to me over Discord by someone else in the Spyro community. These challenge runs are a collaborative effort, and if you're interested in learning more about the tricks you see in my videos, then you can join my Discord server with the link in the description. It's full of friendly, like-minded gamers, and it's also the best place to ask me anything directly about my runs, so I hope to see you there. Thank you. Cliff Town's up next. There are a lot of buildings with gems on top. We can reach quite a few of them, but not all of them. Fortunately, we don't need to reach this roof to light the firework. The hardest rooftop we can still reach is this one. We need to charge into a normal jump for added momentum and then charge the apex of the jump. We can also reach the gems behind the starting building from the ground with a well-timed jump charge. Once we climb our way up to the highest point of the level, the dragon that we rescue up here tells us to glide over the gorge. We can't do that, and there's no other way of getting over there. This is annoying because it's from the other side of the gorge that we're supposed to reach the taller rooftops, so we decided to try a proxy instead. The two enemies that we see in this part of the level are Big Mamas and the little guys in sombreros. If they're found together, the Big Mama will slap the little guy to make him charge at us. The Big Mama happens to be right next to a tall building that we can't get on top of. It's possible to flame her into this corner and then quickly wedge ourselves into that corner before she dies. This can give us a big squeeze proxy for a lot of height, but unfortunately, just like Stone Hill, we go straight up with no lateral movement whatsoever. The only way to break out of this proxy is with a glide. A charge won't work. We decided to give the same proxy a try, but with the smaller enemy instead. To make this work, we had to defeat the giant mama while keeping the smaller enemy alive. Then, we use a nearby dragon pedestal for a checkpoint. If we die now and respawn on the pedestal, the Big Mama will still be dead, but the little guy won't be dead and his position will be reset. We hoped getting a proxy off the smaller enemy might allow for some lateral movement, and as long as we time a roll at the same time as the proxy, it does kinda work. The problem is we can't get the movement towards the actual building that we need to get onto. This is due to us being too close to the wall and the wall being completely vertical. We can't get this enemy any closer to the opposite corner either. We have 2 out of 3 dragons and 316 gems out of 400, which seems to be the best we can do in Cliff Town. Let's go to the Ice Cavern instead. This goes exactly the same way it did in our first glideless run. Almost everything can be reached without gliding. The only platform we can't reach is the small one with the key on it. It doesn't matter where we approach this platform from, it's much too far away. We can reach the locked chest, but without the key, that's not helpful, which means we have all 5 dragons and 368 gems, so that leaves us 32 gems short in the Ice Cavern. The boss level of Peacekeepers is Shemp, and we're very limited on where we can reach. Once we make our way through the first few enemies, we see 2 whirlwinds. One leads to the boss, and the other leads to a few more gems. We'll never reach the ledges that these whirlwinds lead to, but there are a couple of lower ledges that we would like to reach as well. We can take advantage of the big mama enemies. With their slaps, they can send Spyro backwards and upwards. With this, we can reach the gems up here along with a key, and we can also reach this ledge near the start. There's nothing up here though, it's used to get back to the start of the level once we reach the end. However, it turns out that the corner of the ledge over the purple goo can be stood on. With a well-placed jump charge, we can land on it and reach both the dragon and the boss itself. After defeating the boss, we get a bunch of gems, and we can even jump down to the locked chest below for even more gems. We can now go around defeating all the big mamas that we left alive for their gems. We did look into proxies for this level. There is actually a really high one that we can get near the start, which is done by luring this enemy into a corner. The problem is we can't get the same proxy anywhere else in this level. We can't lure these types of enemies into any other corner, and we would struggle to get any lateral movement off this proxy anyway, just like Cliff Town. So that leaves us just 42 gems short in Shemp. To reach the next homeworld, Magic Crafters, we need at least 1,200 gems, which we have easily. But just like with the previous 2 homeworlds, there's nothing out of our reach here. This is where we are introduced to supercharge ramps, which we can use to cover big gaps with massive jumps. The only ledge that seems like we would need to glide to reach can be reached with a supercharge jump. There's a locked chest here, and we could use the key since we have it, but a supercharge also breaks these chests open, so that is 100% completion in Magic Crafters. The first level here is Alpine Ridge. We weren't able to make much progress here the first time we tried it, but things have changed since then. The first few jumps are easy enough. It's this jump we couldn't make first time around, but back then, we just weren't using the right technique. We step back a bit, jump, charge down to the very edge, let go of charge before the landing, and jump again to carry a bit of forward momentum. We then charge again at the apex of our jump to only just make it across the gap. After getting down here, we want to keep this Magic Gnorc alive. He may be useful to us later. We reach the vortex at the end, and we have now rescued 3 out of the 4 dragons. There are still 2 areas that we haven't been able to reach in this level, and they both can only be reached by gliding. One of them is this opening in the wall that we can see from the end, and the other is a faraway ledge that we can see near the start of the level. The opening in the wall is very close to the Magic Gnorc that we left alive, and this Gnorc will use his magic to raise and lower the ground that he stands on. If we get too close to him, he gets scared and he stops doing this. But if we can keep the camera pointed away from him, he keeps moving the ground. Unfortunately, even with the ground raised, we still can't jump charge over to the opening. After some trial and error, we did find a way to get even closer. If we scare the Gnorc, he runs around in circles for a few seconds, which means it's possible to move the Gnorc's position slightly. Doing this means that we can move him further into the far corner of the platform that he moves, which gives us more freedom of where we can stand on his platform before he freaks out again. We're doing this because we want to use this platform for a flop. If we charge over the edge towards the opening and time it perfectly as the platform raises up, and then let go of charge at the perfect time, Spyro will flop and be hurled in the direction his momentum was taking him. The charge gives us forward momentum and the platform gives us height. We then proceed to make attempts at reaching the opening like this for hours. I tried so many different timings, angles, positionings, and I just could not make it over there. I'm showing a few of my best attempts right now on screen so you can see how close that we got. It looks so painfully possible, which is why I spent so much time trying this. I came back to this day after day after day and I just could not make it. I believe this attempt was the closest I ever managed to get. It's a heartbreaker, but we have to leave Alpine Alpine Ridge on 394 gems, 3 out of 4 dragons, and no egg. The high caves are up next. We have 2 paths that both lead to the same area, either through the caves with the metal bugs, or we can do a few tight jump charges to cross these moving platforms. We chose the latter, and now we don't have to worry about falling off the edge. This is because in the second half of this level, the fairies will catch us and carry us back to safety. The reason for this is that the game expects us to fall down a lot when going for big supercharged jumps. The furthest ledge that would normally require a glide to reach can actually be reached from the nearby opening in the wall. The supercharge can get us almost anywhere we want in this level. The metal bugs aren't safe anymore either, and that is 100% completion in the high caves. We'll move on to Wizard Peak. Right at the start of the level, we turn left to see a hidden path. There are a few gems here and a whirlwind at the end that would lead to even more gems. Since we can't use the whirlwind, we head back to the main path. There are a couple of balconies with wizard enemies on top, and we can't reach either of them, as they're too high up. In casual playthroughs, I would use the whirlwind we saw earlier to reach the rooftops and then glide down to the balconies from the outside. However, we did find a way to reach the first balcony. There is a smaller wizard enemy down below, and we can use him for a squeeze proxy as he can squash us against this wall. Since we don't have much control during a proxy, it seems impossible to actually land on the balcony itself. But if we jump on the same frame that a proxy occurs, we jump up but with more height than normal. This gives us just enough height to reach the balcony. We grab all the gems up here. Unfortunately, the other balcony doesn't have a wizard enemy up close that we can use for a proxy. We can continue the rest of the level and reach all other collectibles, even from the distant platforms thanks to Supercharge. We do end up getting stuck on the distant platforms after we reach them, but to get back off them we can either death abuse or exit the level from the pause menu. This means that the rooftops and the balconies are the only places we cannot reach in this level. You might think we can just use Supercharge to reach the balconies, but if we try to take Supercharge back towards the start of the level, Spyro loses all momentum. This is due to running up a Supercharge ramp the wrong way. But we can get around this by jumping up against the wall as we Supercharge. Most of the time Spyro stops Supercharging, but if we get it right, we can maintain our Supercharge at the top. This was a lot harder than it looked. We could try to jump up to the balcony that we haven't reached yet, but we can do one better. If we keep supercharging until we reach the bridge, we can collide with the side of the bridge just right to get a crazy high jump. This gets us all the way to the rooftop, and now we can get all the gems up here, and a jump charge gets us onto the other rooftop too. As for the last remaining balcony, we can just see it from here. We need to use the same technique that we used in Alpine Ridge. A jump charge into another jump charge at the perfect time to ensure maximum possible distance, and we need that maximum distance. This was a tough one, but that is 100% completion in Wizard Peak. The boss level Blowhard can be beaten entirely casually. All the gaps can be cleared with regular jumps, and the only wide gap in the whole level can be cleared with a jump charge. I wish the other boss levels were this easy. That is 100% completion here too. The fourth homeworld, Beastmakers, requires 5 dragon eggs to access, which we already had before arriving at Magic Crafters. Beastmakers is full of electrified floors, boars, and swamp water. The platforming isn't an issue though, none of the gaps are wide enough, and we can get a vast majority of the gems and all the dragons. What we can't reach though is the tree stump with a key on it. We can't even reach it with damage boosts, since we can't stand on any lower part of the stump. Another problem we face is, if we jump down this pit to grab the gems down below, the only way back out again is with a whirlwind. We can't exit from the pause menu in a homeworld. This only works in one of the actual levels. There is a portal down here, but it leads to a flight level. If we could save the game, we could quit and reload to return to the start of Beastmakers. The only ways to save the game are either by standing on a dragon pedestal for a manual save, or by entering a portal for an autosave. There's no pedestal down here, and using a flight level portal for an autosave feels wrong, since Spyro will be flying immediately following the autosave. We have another idea. There's a glitch in this game that we haven't used yet, and it's called Level Dissociation. When we enter a portal from a homeworld, the camera follows Spyro inside, which then triggers the loading screen for that level. The Level Dissociation glitch is triggered triggered by entering a portal in such a way that the camera doesn't follow us in. We can achieve this by positioning the camera at the side of the portal, and the portal's frame can prevent the camera from touching the portal when we touch it. This is very finicky, and I practiced this glitch on the Misty Bog portal earlier. Spyro still enters the level transition animation, and during this, Spyro passes through solid terrain, which means he goes right through the ground until the camera finally touches the portal. But what would happen if Spyro hit a death plane before the camera touched the portal? Well, it just so happens that the portal to the flight level is the perfect portal for this, since it's already located very low down and thus closer to the death plane. So we get level dissociation with this portal, Spyro hits the death plane, and the result is Spyro gets zipped to the last dragon pedestal that we touched. We don't even lose a life. Not only that, but another effect of this glitch is that we can now walk on the swamp water. Not only does this glitch get us out of the hole that we were stuck in, but now it can help us get over to the tree stump that we couldn't reach. It's still not easy, we had to find the right spot and also take advantage of another side effect of the glitch. That being that we can no longer bonk our head. So if we jump charge into the right spot, since we don't bonk, we can get another quick jump off the side to reach the top. Once we use the key to open the locked chest, that is 100% completion in Beast Makers. The first level we'll enter in this homeworld is Terrace Village. The first half of this level is no problem at all. There are a lot of enemies but not a lot of platforming. As we make our way through, we see a few metal chests. These can only be broken with fireworks, but some of these fireworks are on rooftops. Towards the end of the level, we see this wide gap. It's tough, but it's just possible to make it over with a big jump charge. We can't get any further though, as this would require using a whirlwind. On our first attempt at this challenge, this is all we could do, and we exited the level from the pause menu. However, this time around, we know about the boosted jump, and there is a ledge near the vortex that looks just low enough to reach. I found this incredibly difficult. I was making attempts at this for ages. Look how stressed Live Nathan is. By the way, I do stream all these challenge runs right here on the YouTube channel as well as Twitch, so come join us sometime. When I eventually nailed the boosted jump, I wasn't expecting it and I nearly charged right over the other side. Now that we're finally up here, we can see that it's intended that we glide from roof to reach the rest of the gems in the level. We can't do that, of course, but we can grab the gems up here, and we can reach the gems near the vortex too. If we want to reach the other rooftops, we're going to need to go back to some good old proxies. We need to use the same type of proxy that we used in Dry Canyon. We take damage right after we bonk into a sloped wall. We need to do this at a bit of an odd angle to reach one of the roofs, but it's very satisfying when it works. Thanks to that, we can reach a bunch more gems and 2 fireworks to reveal even more gems. One of the metal chests that we just broke is on another rooftop. It seems to be just out of reach, but if we start on this ledge a bit further back, we can use the jump charge into another jump charge technique, and this works like a charm. That's 100% completion in Terrace Village. The next level, Misty Bog, has a fair amount of platforming, but we can also use the swamp water for damage boosts, which we do since we fall short on our jumps quite a lot. There's an island that we can jump charge our way over to, but we can't get back off this island in the same way. Since there's a dragon here, we can't death abuse either, since we'll just spawn back on this island. We could just exit the level from the pause menu, which is what we did first time around, but another option is to make our way across the roof of this building. Not all of this roof can be stood on though, but we can get far enough to damage boost our way off this island. We can use jump charges to get across the ruins and reach the roof, but we cannot use a jump charge to reach the tree stumps over there. This is absolutely meant to be glided to, but if we exit and re-enter the level, we can reach the other side of those tree stumps. From here, we can use the mother of all damage boosts to get all the way across the swamp water and just make it onto the edge of the lowest stump. Once we defeat all the enemies up here and grab all the gems here, we have 100% completion in Misty Bog. It's time once again for everyone's favourite level, Treetops. And as everyone knows, this level is all about supercharge ramps. We need to make sure we can even reach one of the ramps, which we can just do with a decent jump charge. And now we can use this ramp to reach the next one. If we chain together enough supercharges, we can build up enough speed to reach pretty much any part of the level without the need to glide. We can even use supercharge to ramp up this wall near the vortex to reach the ledge above it. There is one exception to this though. There is one distant island to the left of the first supercharge ramp. I was never able to reach this island in my first attempt at this challenge. It's much too far away to reach with supercharge alone, so a glide is surely required. But the Spyro community finds a way. From the top of the first supercharge ramp, we need to charge down to the end and on the left side. We jump off the edge and circle round to the right so we can land back on the same supercharge ramp again. From there, we can use a sloped part of the tree stump ahead of us to ramp off. This is much easier said than done. It's very easy for Spyro to lose speed during this, and if we don't maintain top speed throughout, we won't make it over to that island. During a supercharge, the colour of the dust behind Spyro will change colour depending on his speed. From slowest to fastest, those colours are white, yellow, orange and red. We can get it to start yellow, but ramping off the edge will sometimes turn it white. It's possible that it will turn back yellow again as we land back on the ramp, but this doesn't always seem to work. We found a few things that seem to help. For example, jumping into the initial charge at the top of the ramp, jumping at the very edge of the ramp, landing directly back on the ramp, and then hitting the sloped bit of the tree perfectly for maximum height, not to mention perfectly timing the final jump. With all that, we only just made it to the distant island. That is 100% completion in treetops. Now we can play the boss level of Beastmaker's Metalhead. It's a short level, the start of it has a few tall buildings with gems on top, but we can't seem to reach any of those for now. There is an opening down in the sewer section, but before we go down there, we find the one and only dragon in this level for a checkpoint. Once we have that checkpoint, we now jump down to the sewers, grab all the gems down there, and find a key. The only way back out of this part of the level is with a whirlwind, but just like in Stone Hill, if we death abuse, we will respawn at the dragon pedestal and keep the key. We face the Metalhead boss himself next, but before ending the fight, we make sure to open the locked chest at the side of the arena. The boss is a giant robot and he throws monkey enemies at us. Each enemy that he throws dies and drops a gem, so if we dodge them long enough, he will run out of enemies and we will have all their gems. We need to do this because the only other way to defeat these enemies is to use a whirlwind to reach them, or at least that's what we thought. If we exit and re-enter the level, we can respawn the boss and fight it again. Once we're in his second phase, we can get a proxy in the same way that we did back in Terrace Village. We need to bonk the sloped wall and get hit by Metalhead's laser attack directly afterwards. Baiting this attack is a bit awkward since we need to be on the ground level, but as soon as we know it's coming, we jump up onto the higher ledge, bonk into the wall, get hit, and Spyro gets pushed right up the sloped wall in front of him. It's very difficult to land on the roof though. We tend to hit the lip of the roof above us, and without gliding we have no control over Spyro once we're airborne, but with the right angle and timing we can get sent so high that we clear the lip completely. Once we're up here, since we sequence braked a little bit, there are a bunch of invisible enemies, which really threw me. Before we jump back down, we need to reach the gems on the other side with a very tight jump charge, and that just leaves the gems on the roofs at the start of the level. The lower roof can be reached from beneath with another insane boosted jump. You honestly can't appreciate how difficult these boosted jumps are until you've tried them yourself. As for the tall rooftop, it's intended that we use a whirlwind to get up there, so the goal is to find a proxy instead, and boy did the community find one. We need to take advantage of the bigger enemies in this level as they will kick Spyro quite far if we get too close to them. There is a big enemy at the bottom of this building and he's joined by a couple of smaller enemies too. This seems perfect as we can experiment with getting a proxy between them, but the issue is the big enemy pushes the smaller enemy towards us when we get too close. This happens right at the start of the level too, so it seems unavoidable. However, all we need to do is keep the camera facing away from the enemies as we approach. This keeps at least one of the smaller enemies here, and as long as we can keep Spyro's back to the enemy, The big one won't kick the smaller one. This allows us to position Spyro between them without aggroing either of them. The big enemy will only attack if we're facing it, and the smaller one does nothing, as he's supposed to be kicked already. From here, we jump, turn towards the big enemy, bonk into it, and get kicked into the smaller enemy right afterwards. After a lot of trial and error, this eventually proxies Spyro upwards in the right direction, and we just land on the rooftop above us. With that, we can grab the last few gems remaining, and we have 100% completion in Metalhead. To access the 5th home world, Dreamweavers, we need to have rescued 50 dragons. In our original video, this was a roadblock for us, and we were forced to allow whirlwinds to reach a total of 50 dragons. But this time around, we already have 51 dragons. Another roadblock we faced in the original video is the fact that this homeworld is made of floating islands, and they start off quite far apart. We had to resort to a glide here before, but now, using the same technique that we used back in Alpine Ridge and Wizard's Peak, we can just make it off the first island. We can even use this technique to reach the next island too. In fact, using this, we can reach all the level portals in the homeworld. We can even return to the start of the homeworld thanks to the balloonist. Just travel elsewhere and return. What we can't reach, however, is the floating island in the center with the cannon on it. This means we can't use the cannon to shrink the 2 large armored enemies that block an entryway. Thankfully, it is just possible to jump over these 2 enemies even without shrinking them, so we can reach the gems beyond them. We just can't get the gems from actually defeating those 2 enemies if we can't shrink them first. This means we can get 255 out of 300 gems and 2 out of 3 dragons. So we'll head into the first level, Dark Passage. And what a disappointing start this is. We're barely here for a minute and we're already blocked by a whirlwind, with no other way to go without being able to glide. The rest of the entire level can only be reached by getting to the top of this whirlwind. We can use the metal turtle enemy for a proxy, just like we did back in Dry Canyon. Unfortunately, whereas the proxy can get us a lot of height, it can never get us on the upper ledge, because we hit our head on the lip on the way up. The only way to move during this proxy is by gliding. We tried to get a proxy somewhere else in this level's starting area, but all the enemies here have a roof over their head. I couldn't lure any of the enemies outside either, so we're stuck with this being as close as we can get to any kind of progress. That is only 47 out of 500 gems and 0 dragons. Lofty Castle is up next. Plenty of platforming in this level. The first challenging jump is right after the first fairy whirlwind. We make sure not to rescue all 3 fairies, since then they can't activate the whirlwind, which means the whirlwind won't get in our way when we go for this jump. There's a lower floor here, but we want to grab all we can from the floor we're on first. We can once again use a proxy to reach the gems up here, and since there is no lip on this ledge, we can make it up here with the right timing. There's a whirlwind inside a building, and this leads to both a key and a supercharge ramp. Not being able to reach either of these limits us on where we can reach elsewhere in this level too. Before moving on, there is a small island above us, and it's just too high to reach from below. However, there are several big Gnorc enemies that float up and down by holding balloons, and there happens to be one right here. It's possible to jump on top of the Gnorc as he's raising up, which can carry Spyro upwards a little bit. With the right balance, we can just use this to reach the island above and grab the gems up there. We can jump charge over to this island to rescue a dragon, but without using a whirlwind, we can't get off this island again. We can clear up all the gems here, but we can't move on with this level, so we're forced to exit from the pause menu and re-enter the level. This is also where we notice how weird this enemy bird's AI is. He did this weird movement where he slowly floated back down to the ground. We can fall down to the lower level now to grab all the gems down there. We tried to use the same proxy from before now that we're down here, but the walls aren't shaped quite right to get us anywhere. Once again, to avoid using a whirlwind to get back to the upper floor, we can exit the level from the pause menu and re-enter. From this small bridge, we have just enough height to do a jump charge to get up here. Another jump charge gets us over to the other side. The camera isn't helping, but we do get over there after a few tries. Now for a more difficult jump charge. This one was a tough one, but once we get over there, we grab all the gems, and that is all we can do in this level. Any other island in this level is much too far away to reach without whirlwinds or gliding. If only we could reach the supercharge ramp, we'd very likely be able to make a lot more progress then. Oh, by the way, we did try to get the Cupids to shoot the Gnorc balloons from a distance, and whereas they can break the fairy cages with their arrows, they don't pop the balloons. Shame. But for for now, that is 281 out of 400 gems and 2 out of 3 dragons. We'll go to the next level instead then, Haunted Towers. It's a level where we can receive temporary power-ups for our flame breath to break metal objects. I only wish we could see more of the level to take advantage of that. We only get a small part of this level to explore before we need to use a whirlwind, just like in Dark Passage. Blocking this whirlwind is a suit of armor. It doesn't attack us, it just acts like a wall. We could just defeat the armor, but we were hoping to use it for a proxy. We were hoping to get squashed between the armor and the wall, and if we're quick enough, it is possible to get between it and the wall. There's just no proxy. We can use the wizard enemy near the whirlwind to proxy us onto the walls, but we still can't reach the next part of the level from here. Although we did see that there is a Gnorc loaded in all the way down below the level for some reason. There are other proxies that can be achieved with this wizard that would get us to the next part of the level, but all those proxies involve gliding. We only got 109 gems out of 500 and 0 dragons in Haunted Towers. So we'll head to the boss level of this homeworld instead, Jacques. Another short level, as all boss levels tend to be, but there's also a fair amount of platforming this time. We can see where we want to be, we just can't always reach it. Like the platform with the dragon on it. We can reach both the key and the locked chest at least. Even the boss fight at the end involves platforming. Jacques will jump across wide gaps, and whirlwinds are intended to be used to give chase. However, it is actually possible to defeat Jacques before he jumps across this gap. When we first approach the boss, we charge at the right side, and when the boss throws a box at us, we need to flame both the box and him at the same time. If we do it right, Jacques will die immediately and we get his dropped gems. This is called the Jacques Quick Kill. I had no idea it existed before making this video, but I'm glad it does. We still can't reach the gems at the end of the level near the vortex though, so that puts us on 351 out of 500 gems and 1 out of 2 dragons. The balloonist wants a total of 6,000 treasure to be collected before he'll take us to the final homeworld. We have over 7,000 at this point though, so we're good. Gnasty's world is a tiny homeworld with 4 levels, 200 gems and 2 dragons, although only 1 dragon is available to rescue right now. There's a level portal inside each dragon head statue, but the next dragon head only opens when we touch the exit vortex of the previous level. At first, the only level available is Gnorc Cove. Some of you may already know, but this is my favorite level in the game. It's the chain reactions that you can get with the explosions by charging the barrels into enemies. It's a shame then that we don't really need to spend a lot of time here. None of the platforming provides much of a challenge in this run. The only gap we can't clear is right at the very end. But if we use a couple of damage boosts, we can actually skip this gap altogether. We will still need to fall down this hole to grab some gems, which gives us 100% completion in Gnorc Cove. We will then need to exit this level via the pause menu since we're now trapped down here. As you can see, the dragon head to the next level has not opened because we didn't touch the vortex at the end of Gnorc Cove. So we need to go right back into Gnorc Cove, damage boost over the water again, and then use the vortex this time. The next level, Twilight Harbor, is another level that seems to end very early. There is a whirlwind preventing our progress not a minute into the level. In Reignited, there were wooden posts sticking out of the water, and we were able to use them to platform around this whirlwind, but they're not here in the original. There is a big enemy near the whirlwind that we could use for a potential proxy, but the issue is, when we get too close to the enemy, it will walk forward and further away from the whirlwind. We want that enemy to stay where he starts, so we need to try and avoid standing on the trigger that makes him move. This is tough as the trigger is pretty much any part of the center of the previous room. So here's how we got around it. We can use the smaller enemy in the side room to get clipped through the wall. It works in the same way as the proxy in Cliff Town, except this one is much more difficult, and we get pushed through the wall instead of upwards. This drops Spyro out of bounds and to his death. However, if we can jump at the very moment that we get clipped through the wall, we can charge out of the air to land back in bounds again. We are now further forward, and we have avoided the trigger that causes the big enemy to move. We can now see the enemy enemy standing in front of the whirlwind. He seems to be completely inactive, but approaching him triggers his machete attack. We need to jump charge into him, but we need to time the charge right before he swings at us. Timing it right can result in a proxy that bounces us upwards slightly, which is just enough to land on the ledge above. That was the only real challenging part of this entire level in a glideless run. The supercharge ramp here can help us reach the platform with the 3 yellow gems on it, and there's next to no more platforming in the rest of the level, so that's 100% completion in Twilight Harbor. We can now enter the final boss level, Gnasty Gnorc. It starts off very simple, but the finale of the chase is a very challenging series of wide gaps over lava. What's more, the platforms we're using are slowly shrinking, so we need to be quick. Being only able to use jump charges here makes this a lot more difficult. It's very fitting that the finale of the run really tests what we've learned so far. I really downplayed the difficulty of this section in my original video, although back then I played on the POW version. This is the NTSCU version, so maybe that makes this more difficult, I don't know. Anyway, we do eventually nail it, and this gives us 100% completion in this boss level. Upon defeating Gnasty Gnorc, this spawns another dragon in the final homeworld, which then gives us 100% completion here too. The final dragon head statue houses the portal to a bonus level called Gnasty's Loot, but if we want to open it, we need to collect all 12,000 gems and rescue all 80 dragons. Clipping inside doesn't seem to be possible either, since the dragon head is completely solid all the way around it. All around it except for underneath it. Here's what we need to do. First, we make sure we have full health. And second, we jump up right here to clip inside the dragon head next to Gnasty's Loot. This clip is extremely precise, and I have no shame in admitting that I'm borrowing footage for this because I could not pull this off. Next, we need to fall down behind the statue into the water and then use a single damage boost to quickly get underneath the dragon head. From here, we can squeeze under the dragon statue's jaw to clip through the floor and into the water. We then quickly use 2 more damage boosts to get underneath Gnasty's Loot's dragon head statue. We then jump up inside the dragon head and access Gnasty's Loot without having the gem and dragon requirements. This is called early loot. But the bad news is there's nothing we can do once we're inside Gnasty's Loot. The gimmick of this level is that Spyro can fly, so we start off stranded on a small ledge that we're supposed to fly from. There's a total of 2,000 gems here, and we can't reach any of them without flying at least once. What's even more annoying, in Reignited we could actually reach more of this level with clever use of damage boosts, but that simply doesn't work in the original. The layout is just a bit too different. That is finally the limit of what we've been able to do so far in a true glideless run of Spyro 1. We have 9,079 out of 14,000 gems, 67 out of 80 dragons, and 11 out of 12 dragon eggs. The game considers this to be 80% completion. If you have any ideas on how we can improve this total, please let me know in the comments or message me on Discord. If you enjoy these challenge runs on classic games, then you're in the right place. Please subscribe, and if you want to go the extra mile, you can join the list of names that you see here. Whether they're YouTube members or members of our Patreon, their support means everything, and they also get early access to videos. If you want to see our other Spyro glideless runs, the playlist is linked on screen now. Or maybe you'd like to see challenge runs from a different Insomniac franchise, Ratchet & Clank. I'll link that playlist too. I feel like I've been putting this off long enough. I might actually have to play A New Beginning for the first time. Oh god.